Hey everybody, welcome to the 2021 Maid Summit. Thank you so much, Amar and the whole ZenMaid team for putting on another amazing event. I am super excited to be back here for the third year in a row, this time to talk about how to build a team and scale your business. I know, shock, I'm not talking about automation this year. What? That's because I have an entire team now and some of them are talking about automation. So I figured I would take a step outside of my comfort zone and dive into something a little bit different this year. So let's go ahead and dive right in. This year's topic, building a team and scaling your business. So my first question for you is, why do so many entrepreneurs stay solo? Fear of the unknown, fear of screwing up, fear of loss of control, or fear of employees ruining their business reputation. So for those of you that I don't know, my name is Courtney Wisely, and I am a tech and automation specialist in the cleaning industry. I actually began in this industry by working on the ZenMaid team back in 2017. And then I decided that I loved this industry so much, I wanted to start my own maid service. So I did. And my maid service is called Magic Maids, and I live in Festus, Missouri. Now, back in 2017, whenever I opened up Magic Maids, I had no idea what I was doing. Absolutely zero. I had no startup costs. I didn't have the experience. I had never ran a business before. And so it was a completely new adventure for me. I was so broke at the time that I actually used my food stamp card to buy cleaning products. So I would buy baking soda and vinegar and all of the food items that you could buy to make my own homemade cleaning products. I got on Craigslist, I got a vacuum, and I was ready to rock. Fast forward to July of 2018, whenever I decided to open up Rescue My Maid Service. By this point, I had become known in the industry as the techie girl. I loved automation. I loved helping other maid service owners with automation. So for me, this was a passion project. So I started Rescue My Maid Service with one simple mission: to educate as many maid service owners that I could through tech and automation so that they could free up their time from their business and actually spend time doing what they really wanted to do. Luckily, I was able to pick up a few friends along the way. Rescue My Maid Service is no longer a one-woman show. In fact, we have almost 15 people on our team that all have the same mindset. Most of the people on my team are also maid service owners, and they've graduated from the Digital Systems Boot Camp, where they automated their cleaning businesses so much that they wanted to join the rescue team and help others do the same. 8 of them are actually speaking at this summit, so make sure to go check out their talks as well. So let's get back to the topic at hand. Let's talk about some crazy facts. I work 10 minutes a week for my maid service. We have amazing employee retention. Our client satisfaction is the best it has ever been. My maid service runs like a well-oiled machine, and I can travel whenever I want and work whenever I want. Hashtag best life ever. This is really actually true stuff, guys. I'm not making this up. My maid service seriously does run like a well-oiled machine. I travel constantly. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, I'm sure you're always seeing all of my posts about all the places that I go. If you lived in Festus, Missouri, you would be traveling all the time also. So there's a reason behind it. But it is such an amazing thing that I can run my business from anywhere and that it just still grows every single day. I don't even have to worry about it. Now, I am not sharing these details to brag at all. I actually want to share with you the shocking backstory behind this so that you can analyze your own obstacles and crash right through them. So let's talk about the shocking truth. I had zero startup capital. And when I say zero, I mean zero. I mean, I was using my food stamp card, like I said earlier. I lived in a brand new town and I knew no one. So I did not have that automatic friends and family base that I could go to be my first clients. Didn't have that. I did not have a college degree. I do now, actually. I just graduated 2 years ago, which is very exciting. I had a 6-month-old baby at the time and an 8-year-old. I had never ran a business, and I knew nothing about automation, and I knew nothing about cleaning. Like nothing. My house was a disaster all the time. I had a freaking baby and an 8-year-old. What do you think? I share this with you because I want you to think about the excuses that you've told yourself, okay? Think about where you're at in life right now, where you're at with your business, and why you haven't gotten to the level that you want to get to. Think about those reasons that you tell yourself or the reasons that you tell other people whenever they ask you. Think about those. Go ahead. I'll wait. Close your eyes. Think about them. Now, I want you to forget about them. Completely forget about them. There are no excuses. There's only choices. Your entire future is determined by your choices. I made the choice to become a successful entrepreneur. It didn't matter what industry I landed in. I knew that no matter what, I was going to succeed. Failure was not an option for me. I refused to be a statistic, and instead I wanted to set the metrics for which others strived to achieve. I knew exactly what my life was going to look like if I followed the path of everyone else in my family. Can any of you guys relate to this? I knew exactly where I was headed, and I was not okay with that outcome. So I chose to be the first one to stray from that path and try something a little bit differently. I knew it couldn't be any worse than where I was headed. I had already been broke, starving, homeless. I actually lived in my truck for a period of time when I was pregnant with my daughter. And I just thought, you know what? It can't get any worse than this. I have been to the bottom. I know what struggle is. I know that I can survive anything. So I wasn't afraid of taking a leap. I was afraid of standing still because I knew that that is not the life I wanted. So what's the secret? With so many entrepreneurs falling into these fear categories, how do we transcend from a solo business model and scale a company? Well, you have to live by one very simple rule. Forget fear. Now, I know this is easier said than done. But today I'm going to show you how I overcame all of those fears and how I built the most incredible team of people around me so that you can do the same. And I'm not talking about just my maid service and my amazing cleaning team in my office. I'm talking about the rescue team as well. I have 2 companies that I run, and both of them have incredible teams of people. And it is not by accident. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So let's talk about the fear factors. Let's address these fears because until we face them, we cannot ever move past them. So when you hear your fear, raise your hand, even though I can't see you, but raise your hand and I guarantee you're not alone. The first one, fear of the unknown. So how many of you guys are planners? You know every single detail of what's going to happen before it happens. You've got backup plans for your backup plans. I know how scary it is to embark on an adventure without a roadmap. How can you plan for the unknown? Well, you can't. So to overcome this particular fear, we must make the unknown known. I know this seems impossible, but I'm going to give you an example from my own journey to explain. Let's use my maid service Magic Maids as an example, since this was my very first time facing the fear of the unknown. In the business world, that is. Let's see what those unknowns were. First, I did not know how to clean professionally. I did not know how to build a client base. I did not know how to set up a business legally. I didn't know how to hire good employees. How many of you hired the worst employees ever in the beginning? Just me? Yeah, terrible. So how did I address all of these unknowns? Well, for number 1 and number 2, I stalked the professional cleaning business Facebook groups, the ZenMaid Mastermind, professional house cleaners, all of those groups. And I read, I absorbed, I learned from the knowledge that was collected from all of these business owners, okay? Obviously, you guys are already doing that, I'm sure. You would not be here if you weren't on Facebook and you didn't know that these groups existed. So that's number 1. I also reached out to my old bosses and said, can I please buy you lunch? And can you just explain to me like how you got where you are? What are the things that you came up with? What are the obstacles that you had to crash through? And I just got all sorts of advice and wisdom from them. To set up a business legally, obviously, I Googled this. I ended up on SBA.gov. I learned all of the legalities that I needed to know. Of course, I made a few mistakes in the beginning. I was an LLC in the beginning, and then I switched to an S Corp later, which I'm not a tax accountant, so do not do that if you're an LLC now, unless your accountant tells you to. There's a reason for that. But these are things that I had to learn along the way. And then the last one, not knowing how to hire good employees. Well, that one I learned by experience. I knew and accepted that I was going to go through some terrible employees before I got to the amazing ones. And that is exactly what happened. And that's exactly what will happen with all of you if you're in the beginning. And if you have crappy employees right now, don't freak out. It gets better. I promise you. So those are pretty obvious solutions to these unknowns, but not everybody has an analytical mind. A lot of people can't even get to the problem solution mode because their fear of the unknown is too overwhelming. So for those of you that are more emotion driven, here's how you can attack this fear so that you can make it to the problem solution mode. I want you to make a list of what you know about yourself. I want you to list 5 things that you know to be true. So here's my 5 as an example. I'm resourceful. I have a killer work ethic. I don't give up. I never stop learning, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. Once you identify your strengths, you can face the fear of the unknown, armed with the knowledge that no matter what happens, these things will always be true and will allow you to overcome anything. Therefore, the unknown is now the known, because if you take any of those problems and you apply these 5 characteristics, you know you're going to figure it out. So now I can just scratch that fear. It doesn't matter if it's unknown. I have faith and trust in myself that I will be able to figure it out. So let's move on. Fear number 2, fear of screwing up. So how many of you guys are perfectionists? Do you tweak things a million times before you consider it done? Does it totally freak you out if you screw up? This fear is faced by the simple act of acceptance. You will screw up. There's no way around it. But here's the crazy truth. No one cares. Unless your screw ups are hurting people or costing them money, in that case, of course, you rectify it immediately. No one actually cares if you make a little mistake. If you make a post with spelling errors, if you accidentally email somebody with a broken link, if you forget a follow-up call or something like that, nobody really cares. They've forgotten about it 3 minutes later. We're all human and we all make mistakes. Most of the time, we are our own worst critics. And the people that we're trying to appease don't even notice. In fact, if you meet these mistakes with humor, they're going to like you even more. They'll think you're authentic. So call yourself out. Be like, yeah, I definitely drank a little bit too much last night. Like I totally screwed up. Maybe don't say that, but you get my point. Own it, and then they will appreciate you more for it. So to overcome this fear, here is what you need to remember. Accept the fact that you will screw up. Own every one of your mistakes and learn to laugh at yourself. On to fear number 3, fear of employees ruining your business or your reputation. This one starts with the hiring process and ends with instincts. So let's start with hiring. How to hire the right people. Number 1, vet them thoroughly. You would think that everybody does this, but shocker, they really don't. A lot of people will sit in an interview and they'll just make an immediate gut decision. And they're like, yep, I like this person. She's got a good smile. She's got a great attitude. I'm going to hire them. But they did not do any of their homework and they didn't call the references, check them out. And then of course, what happens? They get burned. So, it's often overlooked by people that are desperate. That's usually whenever this happens. I cannot tell you how many bad hires I made in the beginning because I did not check their references or vet them thoroughly enough. I actually had a girl that ended up stealing a checkbook from my house, and then the cops called me. It was just, I've had so many terrible employees. Of course, that was very early on. I figured out, hey, background checks are important, things like that. So don't make those mistakes. I also use things like the DISC assessment before I make any decisions. So for those of you that know what the DISC assessment is, great. For those of you that don't, make sure to look below this video. I'm going to have a resource for you for the DISC. And it's a really simple tool just to kind of see what their personality style is. And if you know what your personality style is, then you're going to know what type of people to hire that you will work the best with. Most of you are probably Ds, which are the dominant type. You guys are entrepreneurs. You've decided to start your own business. Usually they're Ds, but there are a mixture of people that are entrepreneurs. It's just pretty common that you're a D. So if that's the case, if you're like me, I'm a D. I work best with S's and C's. So in Magic Maids, in my cleaning company, we only hire S's and C's. And I'll tell you why. S's are the stable ones. So they're the ones that are going to show up all the time. They're not going to be late. They're always going to be reliable. Like those are the great reliable cleaners that you want. The C's are the conscientious ones. So those are the girls that have really, really great attention to detail. Those are usually my best cleaners, are C's. So the I's are more talky. Like they're influencers. So they want to constantly be social. They might be the ones that are on their phones. They might be talking too much to the clients and not actually working. That's just what I've personally found. And then of course, if I hire a D, usually there's going to be some combativeness there. There's going to be some talking back. There's going to be the possibility that maybe they take my clients and try to start their own business because they're also a D. I'm not saying all Ds are like that, but usually people that do that are a D. So just keep that in mind. For us, we like S's and C's, but you guys can check out what your personality is and then and see what works best for you. And I'll put that below the video, so make sure to check that out. A question I also ask in the interview is, do you feel lucky? So I know it's kind of a weird sounding question, but I ask it because that tells me if they have a victim mentality. So if they say yes, even though they're unemployed, they're living in Festus, Missouri, which is the actual worst. But if they are still saying yes, they feel lucky, then I know they're intrinsically a positive person. They're going to take ownership of their actions. They're not going to try to blame other people. And those are the kind of people that I want to hire. Number 2, start slow. So you do not have to give someone a packed schedule right off the bat. Start them on the jobs that don't negatively impact your business. If they ghost you or if they do terrible, you might have move out cleans where the client is not even there and you can make sure that they do a good job without the client knowing. You might have commercial jobs that are super simple that you want to kind of see if they show up, see if they're reliable and put them with somebody. Never put them on their own, obviously, right off the bat, but give them things that if they screw up, it's an easy fix or it's not really going to impact things. Or if you have houses on your schedule that are specifically for training houses where the client knows that trainees are coming in, that's great as well. So just keep in mind that you don't have to pack their schedule right away. Give them a chance to prove themselves. Make them prove their dedication, their attention to detail. And you can identify pretty quickly who the self-starters and the overachievers are. And number 3, trust your gut instinct. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. If within the first month they've asked off more than once, if they are not following instructions, if they've been late, they're forgetting their supplies, things like that, get rid of them. Don't listen to their excuses. They made the choice, and don't choose to wait and see if they get better. They probably will not. At this point, I've had over 100 employees, and every time that my gut told me this was not a good fit and I hired them anyway, I got burned every single time. So trust your gut. And side note, if you're afraid of getting a bad review, don't be. And there's a book on this. It's called Hug Your Haters, which is an awesome book. Look it up. But it is a chance for you to publicly respond and in a professional way. And more people are going to hire you based on your responses to negative reviews than they will on, 100 positive reviews and 0 negatives. Like, that looks fake. So I actually am not unhappy whenever I get a negative review, because usually there's somebody crazy, because our quality is awesome. So it's most of the time it's not us. It really is that they're like, somebody that just wants to be a jerk and leave a crappy review just because. And so if that happens, then I'm able to respond publicly like, hey, remember how we offered to come back and make it right? And then you told us to go F ourselves? Like, hey, that happened. So whatever happens, you can respond, and then people will read it and be like, oh, look, the company actually did try to make it right. And they'll read through it and they'll be like, yeah, this guy was actually just crazy. So people know there's crazy people out there. So don't freak out if you get a bad review. That's okay. All right, we're on to fear number 4, fear of loss of control. So this one is typically the most common fear. Our businesses are our babies, right? We built them. We know every aspect of it inside and out. And we think there's no way anyone will ever care as much as we do. Well, that is actually 100% true. Nobody is going to care as much as you do because they didn't build it, okay? But if you demand perfection, you're going to be solo for the rest of your life. You have to learn to accept excellence and not perfection. And there's also a big secret here that I'm going to reveal to you. You can be in control without them knowing. So we've probably all had that boss that wanted to breathe down our neck and constantly check our work. Super annoying. We don't like micromanagers. Most people quit their bosses, not their jobs. Nobody likes a micromanager. And if that is you, you're not going to keep employees very long. But I know how physically painful it is to let go of control. So you can use a tool like ClickUp to see everything that you need or want to see without them knowing. Now, this is for like your office staff. So if it's your cleaners, obviously you can do quality checks. All of those things can be done without them being there if you wanted to pop in after they left or something. But we usually do our quality checks while they're there. But for your office staff, if you use something like ClickUp, you can see exactly what is going on at all times without them knowing. Now, since the office staff knows that I have ClickUp, obviously they're using it, but since they know I can see everything, I can see what's in their inbox, I can see what's overdue, they don't test it. So it makes it really, really easy to make sure that everything is running smoothly without that fear of like, oh my gosh, what Sierra's didn't do her follow-ups today, or we've got 3 pending guidelines sitting in there that she hasn't followed up with. Like, none of that is going to happen because she knows that I can see all of that. So she doesn't test it. Now, just between you and I trust Sierra like so much. So I don't actually have to check in on her every single day. I usually do it like once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. But she doesn't know that. And I don't think she's going to watch this talk, but she thinks I check every day. I really don't. But whenever I do check, it's fine. So that's why I know that I don't need to check every single day. Another way to remain in control in a non-aggressive way is to do random quality checks. Now, this is something that we do constantly. So my employees never know whenever they're going to be getting a random quality check done. And they're super happy whenever they happen because we're doing it to reward them, not to call them out on something. Now, if of course something's wrong, we'll call them out. But the whole point of the quality check is to basically say, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Here's a gift card or whatever it is. They're super happy and we reward them for their excellence. Now, we do find mistakes sometimes and we lift them up and make them feel good about themselves around coaching them on the mistake. So obviously the sandwich method, you guys probably know about this. Positive, negative, positive, put it in a sandwich. But they will perform better if you focus on a positive culture instead of a negative one. Which brings us to, I was terrible at putting those on the screen, sorry. It brings us number 3, which is performance evaluations. Do not overlook these. These are not quality checks. What these are your yearly or your quarterly check-ins with them. So they want your feedback. They want to know what they're doing excellently and what they could be improving. If they don't know what you're thinking, they're going to assume the worst. Communicate clearly and honestly. I do these quarterly, but depending on your business, you might decide to do them yearly. Just make sure that you do them. These evaluations are also a way to let them know that you value their feedback and you want to make sure that you couldn't be doing something to make their jobs easier. A lot of times employees won't even speak up unless you literally sit there and say, what could I be doing better? And you put an open-ended question out there and then they'll come up with something. So most of the time, they're not just going to come up to you and be like, hey, you know what I think you could do better as a boss? They're not going to do that. Of course not. And if they do, they're probably a D, just so you know. All right, so I want you to think about those 4 fears. As a reminder, they were fear of the unknown, fear of screwing up, fear of loss of control, and fear of employees ruining your business or your reputation. So I want you to identify which of these fears resonate with you and then write down how you can overcome this fear. So go ahead and if you're watching the replay of this, pause the video, write down which fear, think about it, and write down which fear really resonates with you. All right, so now that you are fearless like Taylor Swift, where do you start? Well, every true success story starts with a vision. Elon Musk, for example, has multiple businesses like SpaceX, Solar City, and Tesla. Even though he has so many different businesses, they all support his overarching vision, which is to work in the areas that are crucial to our future to advance human progress. So, what is your end game? Do you want to retire early? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to leave an imprint on society? Leave a legacy for your kids? It doesn't really matter what your end game is, as long as you have one that really resonates with you. Because without a clear vision, it's going to be too tempting to throw in the towel whenever things get tough. Once you know what your end game is, you have to determine what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. Now, this is different for everybody, and there is no wrong answer. Only an answer that's right for you. Maybe you're a single person and you are willing to sacrifice your free time to build your dream instead of going out on the dating scene, which is the actual worst, by the way. Maybe you're married with kids and you're willing to sacrifice that glorious time at the end of the night whenever they go to sleep and you have the couple hours of peace, and instead you want to start working on your business. You must decide what your level of commitment is and be okay with it. Do not feel guilty if you end up binge watching the entire first season of Bridgerton instead of creating content. That's just a choice you made. And if you're not happy with it, choose differently next time or until season 2 comes out. So now let's talk about rewards. We know that compensation drives behavior, but what happens whenever you're compensated so well that that no longer excites you? I have found there to be 3 seasons of business, and the rewards that will motivate you evolve with each season. In the beginning, in season 1, your business is all about revenue. You're putting all your eggs in this basket and you're just hoping to God that you can pay the bills. This is where you will hustle harder than you have ever thought possible. This is where you will become your business. You will lose your personality and you just are your business. How many of you guys are in this season? I know a lot of you are. The largest reward that motivates you in season 1 is money, plain and simple. Now, season 2 comes along whenever you're no longer panicking about the next client or the next employee. You're established, your bills are paid, and you've probably started thinking about those next rewards. This is typically the season most successful entrepreneurs spend most of their careers in. Rewards in this season will range from large income goals to travel to social status. How many of you guys are in this season? I would say I'm in this season. Travel for sure. This is the season that you will stay in without a vision that is bigger than yourself. Now, I want to point out, this is 100% okay. Season 2 is awesome. You can be financially secure. You can live your best life. You can truly focus on the people that matter. But there is a downside to season 2. People on the outside don't usually see this, but this is whenever you've worked so hard to get to season 2, and then you get there and you might realize that it wasn't this life that motivated you. It was actually the journey. It was the challenge. It was the fun of chasing a goal. And if you're like that, then you're like me and you love chasing goals. You love new challenges and new exciting things to do. Maybe you wanted to prove everyone that doubted you wrong. Maybe you wanted to prove to yourself that you could do it. But be careful because this can put you into the dark side of season 2, the what is your purpose now side. Be careful because this can lead to depression and you have to be prepared to fight this and make it to season 3 if you're somebody that's affected by this. I myself was affected by this. I thought that I had this vision of this amazing life where my bills are paid and my kids were able to do what they wanted to do and all the things. And then whenever it happened, it was like, okay, now what? So it's really scary for people like us that are constantly wanting to create and to evolve whenever we get to the top of what we thought was the top. And so we have to create a new top. So be very careful in this season. And if you're somebody like that, I promise you, you're not alone. I promise you, you can find people that are going through the exact same struggles that you are. And you just have to figure out what that season 3 is going to be for you. So let's talk about season 3, the final season. Most will not ever see this season, but those that defined a vision massively larger than themselves, they'll see season 3. Season 3 is when we get to make a massive impact. We move from impacting someone's life to impacting thousands of lives. We go from donating to charity to creating charities. We transition from financial security to generational wealth. The rewards in this season will be more fulfilling than anything you ever thought possible. So the question is, how do we get to season 2 or season 3 once we have defined our vision? So now I want you to define your vision. I want you to think of the long game here. Whenever you make the money that you're aiming to make, what is next? What is your end game? Go ahead and pause the video and write it down. So how do we get there? With a team, of course. You cannot do it alone. And if you try to, you're going to end up crying in the closet, hiding behind your clothes like I did. Or maybe I'm just more dramatic than most, but that's what happened to me. I promise you it will suck. So how do you build a team whenever you're so overwhelmed with your to-do list that you cannot think straight? Well, first you have to identify the roles that you need to fill. In order to reach season 3, if that's your vision, you also need to identify the roles that you will eventually need to fill. So think of the long game instead of only focusing on the immediate problems. By doing this, you're going to prevent problems before they happen. You must be proactive instead of reactive. So how do we identify these roles? Well, we start by listing everything we do in a day. This is tedious, I know. I promise you this is a really good exercise if you've never done this before. After you make your list, I want you to put a line through the things that you don't want to be doing, or that you know that you could automate, or that you just suck at. Now, I want you to replace those things with what you wish you had time to do to grow your business. The stuff that you know you should be doing, but the stuff that always gets put on the back burner because you're too busy doing the day-to-day, putting out the fires and all of the immediate tasks. It could be stuff like creating TikToks and building up a following on there. It could be revamping all of your stuff to make it all modern and relevant in 2021 style. It could even be creating SOPs or systems. And of course, if you need systems, go to the Digital Systems Bootcamp because we got you covered there. So at the end of this, you should have 2 lists. List number 1 is full of the things with lines through them. So those items that have lines through them, that's what your next hire should be doing. I'm talking about your office staff now, guys, your office staff. This is how you grow a company. So all of those things that you put lines through, that's what your next hire should be doing. List number 2 is your perfect work day. So those are the things that your future hires will be doing. Now we're talking about season 3. So now you're going to be planning ahead. You're doing long game here. It's hard to see the forest through the trees, but once you have these first positions hired, you're going to be able to rise above and look bird's eye view at your whole business. So once you know what needs to be done, how do you identify what role that even is? Here's B and C. I'm really bad at clicking the button when I'm supposed to. So many of you guys know my chaos coordinator, Sandy Shepard, who also has a talk in the Maid Summit. So go check her out. I want to express the difference between a chaos coordinator and an assistant. Now, I thought that I made up the term chaos coordinator, but turns out I did not. I had never heard it before whenever I came up with it, but it is a thing because now I'm getting pictures messaged to me from all over of people in shops that are finding things that say chaos coordinator on it, which is kind of funny. So, but we're going to pretend like I made it up. So we're going to talk about the assistant versus chaos coordinator. And we need to talk about which comes first. Well, this depends on your personality and your skill set. So if you are an analytical or a systems thinking person, my guess is that you are miserable doing the day-to-day lists. We are creators and implementers. We love building things and innovating new systems. If that's you, you need to hire an assistant first. If your first list was full of repetitive or boring tasks, then your next goal is to use a tool like Loom and record yourself doing these tasks. Talk your way through them, explain what you're doing, and build out a little video library of your day-to-day task execution instructions. You should not spend more than 1 week on this because we're just focused on the repetitive tasks right now. Once you have these videos down, you now have the means to bring on an assistant. You can find the right person. which we'll talk about in a minute, and you say, here is my training library. Watch these videos and let me know when you have questions. And then you can start focusing on the next new thing that you want to implement or create. Now, if you're an idea person or a networker, then you need to hire a chaos coordinator first. My guess is that you're going to struggle to even make that first list. You probably don't have a ton of repetitive to-dos because repetition of anything is just not in your DNA. Typically in our industry, these are the people that love cleaning. They want to be out. They want to be doing things. They don't want to sit behind a computer and do repetitive things. You might have a hard time identifying what needs to be done to grow the business because before you get to the point of creating those to-do lists, you've already abandoned that task because you had another great idea. You need a chaos coordinator. This person is in charge of the strategy and follow through of your ideas. They are the task creators. They are the people that you should be brainstorming with. They are also the people that will make you look like an executor. If this is your first hire, it is important to note that they're also going to be playing the role of the assistant in the beginning. They will create a task list and then do said task list. But with this person in place, it's not going to be long before your revenue starts growing and you'll both be ready for the assistant to join the team. Now, these people are also more closely aligned with your personality type, chances are. So what are the character traits of these people? Assistants want stability and they enjoy the feeling of completing task lists. These people are usually not idea people or visionaries, but they will be fiercely loyal and committed to the overarching vision as long as it aligns with theirs. Chaos coordinators are different. They have an analytical mind and they're self-starters. They are also idea people, but they love executing. This is where people like to throw out the what if they want to take over your business comment. Well, don't forget, these character traits may align more similarly with yours, but there's one very important distinction between the people that are going to try to take over and the ones that won't. Risk. Just because they have the skill set does not mean that they want the pressure or risk of owning their own business. We are risk takers and we surround ourselves with other risk takers. So we often forget that that is not a common personality trait. Most people want stability and they want to be appreciated. We all know how difficult this is to attain whenever we become a business owner. Now, I want to point out that it is not necessarily a bad thing if they have entrepreneurial aspirations, as long as it isn't to become your competitor, of course. No matter what role you need to fill first, in order to truly grow and scale, you must make sure they are a mission buddy. I think we put way too much pressure on ourselves to sell our vision to our applicants. Most think that the right people are the ones whose eyes light up whenever you tell them what your long-term vision is for your company. You want to find that person that believes in what you do and will work hard to make sure that your dreams come true. You will find people that respond that way. You will think that you have found the one. They will be so excited to work with you and you will start envisioning how amazing your company is going to be now that they're on the team. But believing in your vision will not overcome their own whenever things get hard or when you have to put your boss hat on and correct them. Unless you are the world's perfect boss, you're going to have moments of tension and frustration. These starry-eyed newbies do not stay new. There are unfortunately a lot of shiny people out there. These people are distracted easily, and if someone else comes along and paints the picture of the best job ever, their excitement for helping you with your mission will vanish and be replaced by the next new and exciting thing. So how do we prevent this from happening? We must realize that it is not about finding people that believe in your mission. It's about finding people whose own missions align with yours. To build a team that is loyal, happy, and effective, they must not work under you, but beside you. You must find out what their mission in life is before you give them a copy of the key to your kingdom. Their mission will be different, but it needs to be aligned. For example, my mission is to revolutionize the entire industry through education, motivation, and automation. Keisha's mission is to help other maid service owners succeed through tech and automation. Michelle's mission is to teach people how to track their numbers. Jenna's mission is to educate cleaners on cleaner, greener, safer products. And Brian's mission is to teach training systems. These are just a few examples from my rescue team, but their missions, while different from mine, all align with my overarching vision. So once you have the right people on your team whose missions are aligned with yours, you get to collaborate, which is my favorite thing to do. Asking them for their opinion is so impactful and important in order to foster that we culture. Remember, you've only hired the best of the best and the people whose missions align with yours. So what this means is whenever you ask their opinion, it's probably going to be awesome, or it will give you an even better idea. You're all serving the same purpose, so your ideas and collaboration will flow naturally. When people are asked for their opinion, they immediately feel valued and will begin to take ownership in the company. I never use the phrase my company whenever we talk. It's always our company, because let me tell you, it is not fun to be successful alone. Your team should be an extension of your family. And for those of you that have followed the Rescue My Maid Service team, I'm sure you can tell we are a family. We laugh, we fight, we do all the things that families do. And it is so much better on this side of things. You have to allow them to show you what they can do instead of telling them. I love whenever I say something like, we need a catchy email campaign for Valentine's Day. And then Lisa Bowerly comes back with this amazing fall in love with your business campaign. I did not give her parameters. I just told her what I wanted the result to be, that we needed an email campaign. And she freaking ran with it. And it was amazing. So let them fly. Be there for them if they fall and need help getting back up, but let them do their thing. All right, time to do stuff. I want you to identify your team roles. What type of entrepreneur are you? An idea person or an executor? List out what you do in a day and brainstorm the different roles that could be created from the chaos that is your life. Go past the assistant and the chaos coordinators. In my opinion, those roles are non-negotiable. What comes next? Is it a sales manager? Is it an operations manager? Is it a quality checker? What about a content creator? Think about these roles, what they would realistically do in a day, how long it would take them, etc. In order for all this magic to happen, I think there are 4 key things to have: oversight, trust, support, and culture. So let's talk about oversight. Just because you have a bunch of MVPs on your team does not mean that they're not human. Mistakes are going to get made and balls will be dropped if you don't have oversight. This is different from micromanaging. This is where a tool like ClickUp comes in handy. It allows you to see the workload and inbox of anybody on your team at any time. They can't tell when you're checking up on them, but they know you have the ability. This ensures that they're going to be doing what they should be doing, and you can sit there with popcorn and be a weirdo and watch the whole thing happening. They're not going to know you're acting crazy, and you can do it for as long as you want. A good rule of thumb here is to make a list of the things that they could be improving and a list of things that they did great. At the end of each week, during their first 2 months or so, go over it all on your end of week meeting. Start with the positive, then move to the opportunities for improvement, and then end with the positive. Don't forget to ask their opinion, especially about their workflow. They might point out something inefficient that you could actually make better for them. Number 2, trust. So how many of you guys have trust issues? I definitely do. I don't really trust anybody until they earn it from me, right? But that's because I've been burned in the past. Like most of you have been burned by somebody that you trusted or somebody that you thought was a certain person, and it turned out that they were like a complete backstabber or a complete different kind of person. We've all been there. So trust is something that you have to earn. But here's the problem. You have to let them earn it. If you are somebody that has turned bitter over it and you just expect that everybody's going to screw you over, but they can see that you're like that, that's not a good thing. You've got to let them earn it first. Give them the tasks or projects that are not going to crush your business if they screw up. You can use LastPass to share passwords with them without them seeing them. And then on the flip side, you must also earn their trust. They want to know that you have their back. And if they do, they will be loyal and always have you and the company's best interest at heart. I have fired a ton of clients from my cleaning company because of the way that they've treated my cleaners. The first time I did it, I will never forget. The girls were completely shocked that I did it. I was like, get your stuff, get out of the house. And then they heard the lady talking to me on the phone. And I was literally like, you're not going to talk to my cleaners like that. And they're leaving now. And they were just like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And I told them, I'm like, clients are a dime a dozen. You guys are the MVPs. You guys are the lifeblood of the company. So to me, that is way more important. And I would never put them in a situation where they're uncomfortable or at risk or unsafe or anything like that. So they have to be respected for the rock stars that they are. And they know that that's how I feel. It's one of the main reasons why my cleaners are so loyal. They know that I've got their back, and I've proved that time and time again. Number 3, support. In order for them to want to support you, you must also support them. My companies promote education and growth of every team member because I know that the more that they level up, the more that we level up. One example of this is I will buy any book for any of my team members, as long as it's like for business, obviously, if they want to level up. I will pay for any kind of training that they want to take as long as it pertains to the business. You know, that is something I always offer. Have an open door policy, make sure that they know they can always talk to you, and just always be interested in them improving their education, their knowledge. Number 4, culture. Working on your team should be fun. Engage with them in team building activities. Hold Zoom game nights. Be silly. Show your personality. Don't be the boss that everybody is scared of or the boss that only talks about work. and doesn't ask them about how their life is going. Don't be that guy. People want to know that you're a real person, that you have feelings. Don't just be like a robot, okay? This is a tough one to find balance into, because if you're too nice, they're going to walk all over you. And if you're too strict, they're going to hate you. So a trick that helps me in this is the phrase boss hat. So it sounds very simple, but here's the thing. I am super, super nice to all of my cleaners. But if I have to step in and be a boss for a minute, I will literally say, dang it, I've got to put my boss hat on and have a conversation with you real quick. It lightens the awkwardness. Then they sit down. They're like, okay, what'd I do? And then at the end of I tell them what they did or whatever. And then at the end of the conversation, I say, okay, boss hat off. Now go forth and kick ass. Like, I literally say that to them. And then it just doesn't sound so mean and scary and harsh, but it's still, there's a way to do it where you still sound confident when you're doing it. It's like, well, I have to do it. I got to be the boss right now. Why are you going to make me be the boss? And they'll respond in a better way. So that's how I do it. I promise you it works like a charm, and creating a positive company culture is number one. It's key. They're going to beg to work for you if you create this kind of culture. One of my favorite books about this, by the way, is called Fish. So look that one up. It's a very quick read, and it talks all about team culture and things. So you guys should read that if you haven't yet. So never stop striving to improve this, and never stop caring, and you're going to have a rock star team in no time. You can also I do team outings. So every single month I take my team out to do something. This past month we did a rage room where we all got like dressed up in these like onesie Carhartt things. I don't even know what they're called. And then we all got like hammers and golf clubs and all kinds of things. And we just like beat the hell out of everything in this room. And it was so much fun. Like the girls just let loose. We threw plates and all the things at the walls, and we just like damaged everything. It was so much fun. And they were like yelling out clients' names of the people that they don't like. It was so much fun. And then the month before that, we took axe throwing. So we're going to do an escape room next. So find fun things to do with your team, and they will love you forever. My girls are not going to quit because these are their friends. These are their family. Like, they don't want to leave that. So that's really the key here. So never stop striving to improve. You're going to have so much more than just a rock star team, though. You're going to have a family that you get to overcome challenges with and celebrate victories with. And when you have this, you have everything you need to dominate season 3. All right. So now I want you to brainstorm the things that you're going to do to create an amazing team culture. All right, guys. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. I hope that you got value out of that. Like I said, I went a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I normally talk about automation, but this year I wanted to kind of talk about something different, because this is, I think I'm about to enter season 3 of business, where my team is getting really big, and the rescue team specifically. And we are just having such a fun time helping the industry and all of the maid service owners in it. So for those of you that are wondering how you can get involved in Rescue My Maid Service, how you can talk to anybody, you can always just go on to rescuemymaidservice.com, and I'll share my screen real quick and show you that. So you can pop right on here in the bottom right. You'll talk to Sheila. Sheila is not real. She is a robot, although a lot of people don't realize that. And it's really funny because she has, I programmed her to talk. So she sounds real, but she's a robot. But just click on chat with us, or you can go to our services, either way, and it will immediately connect you to somebody on our team, the real people on our team. This is just our initial bot here, but you can jump in there and talk to anybody, request a call. If you want to click chat with us, you can talk in the chat support here, or you can request a call and somebody will get back with you. But definitely check out all of our services. We do all kinds of stuff. Our preferred employer program is something that will help your your company stand out to employees. I know we're all having trouble getting applicants and all the things. So this is a totally free program that you guys can sign up for and get a badge on your website and have a whole thing so it makes you stand out. We've got all kinds of other services. So just, look through here, see what's up. And a couple times I mentioned the Digital Systems Bootcamp. That's really the catalyst of all of this. You have to get your systems in place. Brian from my team is doing a talk on systems. Pretty much everybody on my team is doing a talk that is in some way regarding systems in your maid service. So make sure to check out all of the speakers. They're amazing. And if you do want to check out the Digital Systems Bootcamp, I have a sneak peek link that I put below here that you guys can check out, and it'll show you a couple of the lessons from the course for free. So you get to just watch them. And then of course, the rest of it is all locked if you, unless you want to purchase it. So feel free to take a look, and you guys can see exactly what is in the boot camp. It is a very intense boot camp. So don't sign up if you're not ready to learn, if you're not ready to work. But the good news is that if you do sign up, you're going to have a maid service that you can literally walk away from at any time and go do things like helping a maid service in Phoenix, Arizona for a week. Like that's what there was 9 of us. We all flew there for a week. All of us just didn't run our maid services for a week, and it was perfectly fine. Everything smoothly ran, no issues. It was incredible. And that's because of the systems that you'll learn in the digital systems bootcamp. So, okay, I think that's it. If you have any questions, of course, reach out. And I hope you guys have an awesome rest of the Maid Summit. So thanks so much for listening again. 3rd year running. I'll see you next year.